Once you have logged into your account as an admin, this will be the first thing that you will see, the setting page. So you will be redirected to the company setting page where you set up the defaults for your company. So the company ID is system generated, so we can edit this one. But for the company short name, you can actually change this one. So you can just select which company name would be easier for your employees to type in when they try to clock in from a new device or they are clocking in for the first time, so that they won't have difficulty signing in for the account. Now the company URL, you can copy this one and just send this to your employees. That way they don't have to type in anything on the company name page. They just have to click on the link that you will be sending them, which is this company URL, and then they will be redirected to the login page. Now we have the account owner email here. So it's either another admin or the company owner's email. And then we have the camera. So this camera feature, if selected all required, then whenever any of your employees tries to clock in or clock out, the system would require the use of a webcam or a camera. And then when they clock in or clock out, it will snap a picture. So you can select not required if you don't need the cameras or a snapping of picture when they clock in and clock out. So the week start date, so this will just generally affect on how you would see the reports or the time cards. So you just select which day your week starts with. Then we have round time too. So we have this one for clock in, this one for clock out. So you just select whether you want to round up or round down, and then select how many minutes it should be rounded up or down to. So this would involve the clock in and clock out. Let's say, for example, you want it rounded up to 15 minutes. So whenever your employees tries to clock in, it would automatically round it up to 15 minutes. Say, for example, I clock in at 11:15. So the system would round it up to 12 p.m., something like that. Now we have the auto lunch deduction. So for this one, this would only apply if you want the system to automatically deduct the lunch break of your employees. Let's say you don't want to see multiple clock in and out in a single day, then you can use this option. So there's a selection to select yes or no. So once you select yes, you will see here how many minutes you want to deduct on the employee's time card, and then after how many hours it should take effect. Now we have max shift hours. So you can just limit on how many hours an employee can be stayed clocked in. Let's say, for example, the employee forgot to clock out, then you can put a limit to it, so that way the system won't keep it or keep the employee's time card running. You have the employee edit note. So as you see on the login on the other video, there's an option to leave a note when clocking in or clocking out, so the employees can edit that one out as well as on their own time cards. So this would just limit on how many days they are allowed to edit the notes that they have left on their time cards. And then we have the date format, so we just select which ones you're most comfortable with. So it's starting from the months first, days first, years first, to 24 hours or 12-hour clock, and then hours and minutes with a letter, or just hours and minutes, or in decimal format. Then we have the default time zone. You select the time of the city on which your company resides in, so that we will get the local time. Then we have allow PTO request. So you can limit your employees PTO request. So if you're not that strict about PTOs or absences, you can select in all conditions so that they can freely request for PTO, or before exceeding PTO accruals if you strictly want to follow the PTOs. We have the option to enter note when clocked in. So as I have mentioned, when you are trying to clock in and out, there's an option to leave a note. So you can disable it here, or you can enable it. So enable with job shift or photo, that means it would show up if you have the selection for job, for the shift, or if you need to snap a picture when you try to clock in, or enable in all cases, even though you don't need to select any job or shift, you can enter a note when you try to clock in. For the clock UI, so there are two. So one is for the desktop, so it's either you use the web browser or your desktop app, and then we have the ones for the devices like the Android and iOS devices. So you just uncheck the clock in options that you don't want your employees to use when clocking in, and then once you have saved the settings, then your employees could only see the clock in options that you have selected, even if they click the blue UI button on the top left if they're using the web browsers or the desktop app. So for extra attributes for employees, so this only applies if you have any extra attributes that you want to add to each of your employees. So as you can see, you can leave it empty if you don't need any of this one. So you just enter the name of the employees and it should be good to go. And then we have the daily and weekly overtime auto clock out. So if you don't want your employees to be working over specific number of hours in a certain day or in a week, so you just enable these features, and then you just enter how many hours they should only be working in a single day or a single week. We have the clock time limit. So if you enable this clock time limit, this would only apply if you don't have shifts on your company. So if you enable the early time limit, late time limit, then you can select what time the system would record their clock in. So as for example here, if earlier than 12 a.m., the clock in time will be saved as 12 a.m. So it doesn't matter if they arrive at 11:43 p.m. If they clock in during that time, the system would record it as 12 a.m. And if they tried to clock in later than 12, then the system would record the actual time that they have clocked in. So this is the same thing for the late time limit. So if you want them to be recorded as the actual time that they have clocked in or clocked out, you just disable this clock time limit feature and then you should be good to go from there. Then we have an option to restrict the login button for your employees. So you can select which employees should be allowed to log in only. So it's either the admins and managers only or only just admins. But if you want your employees to be freely able to check on their time cards, then you can just select allow all users. Then the rest of the options here, shift. If you disable these features, work department, the job, overtime rules, PTO, hours adjustment, approve, the clock points, message, notifications, and bulletin board. So if you disable all this feature, this will just technically remove this feature from the system, so that you don't need to use it. You won't be able to see it under the options here in the setting page anywhere. So you won't see the shifts, shift assignment, jobs, job assignment, hours adjust type, as well as the who is in the message, shift and job schedule here, approve, so clock points. You won't be able to see those options anymore in here.